Hi guys, it's Wendy from cinnamonsweetshop.com, and I wanted to show you all something. Today is March 20th, 2015, and this is what the first day of spring looks like. Anyway, I'm on my way to the gym, and when I get back I will be baking something, but as of right now, this filming, I have no idea what I will be baking, but you will know by the time you see this because it will definitely be in the title. So I will see you back later on. Hi guys, it's Wendy from cinnamonsweetshop.com, and today I'm going to make an Ebinger's Blackout Cake, also known as a New York Blackout Cake or a Brooklyn Blackout Cake. It's a very popular cake in the New York City area, and there is a bit of history about it. Ebinger's Bakery was around at the turn of the century, and the Blackout Cake was believed to have been created around World War II, and legend has it that it got its name because they were doing blackout drills around that time, and that's how they got the cake. Either way, it's a chocolate cake. Chocolate cake, chocolate filling, and chocolate frosting. Now, if you go on the internet and you type in blackout cake, you'll see many different kinds of chocolate blackout cakes, but Ebinger's has a unique recipe to it. It's different, and they're not all the same as this one. The recipe that I have is the original from Ebinger's Bakery. Now, also with this cake, it's not an easy, quick, slam dunk cake to make. In fact, there's 3 recipes we're going to make. We're going to make the chocolate cake, we're going to make the chocolate filling, which is kind of like a pudding, and then we're going to make the chocolate frosting. And in front of me, I have the ingredients just for the cake. There's a lot of ingredients, and there's a lot of processes in between to make this as well. So make sure you have a good couple of hours to make this type of cake. First of all, you're going to need 2 8-inch round cake pans. I have flour. I use my whole wheat pastry flour. You can use all-purpose flour. I have sugar. I'm going to use my raw organic sugar. Unsalted butter. Here I have some unsweetened cocoa, or unsweetened chocolate baking bar, not cocoa. Here I have the unsweetened cocoa. I have some baking powder, baking soda, salt, vanilla extract. I have here eggs that are separated, and I have some milk. I'm using almond milk, but you can use whole milk or any other kind of high-fat milk. And I will be back, so stick around. So to prepare, we're going to start by preheating the oven to 375 degrees, and then we're going to spray each pan and then flour them to prevent them from sticking. You want to be sure to get the sides real well too. And I'm just going to take this out of the way for now because we're not going to be using them for a while. In the bowl of flour, I'm going to add in the baking soda, baking powder, and the salt, and I'm just going to let that sit. That'll be one step less we'll have to do later on. I have here some boiling water, and I'm going to add 2 tablespoons of it into my cocoa powder, and we're going to make a paste. Okay, and here I have it in a paste-like consistency, and I'm just going to put this down for a little bit, and we're going to use it a little later on. In a medium pot, I'm going to combine the unsweetened chocolate and the milk, and I'm going to mix this until it melts, which is going to take about 3 minutes. Once this melts, we're going to take a little bit, we're going to remove it from the heat and just pour a little bit into the chocolate paste and just whisk it around. Just whisk it to thicken it out a bit. And of course I should have used a bigger bowl for this, but bit more. And then we're going to remove this, and we're just going to add the chocolate paste into the liquid chocolate. And then just whisk this in and keep it on the medium heat for about a minute. And just keep whisking this until there's no more lumps. And this is nice and smooth. Okay, and I'm going to take this off the heat and just let it sit so it gets to room temperature. So guys, if you stuck it out this far, that was the first step. The second step is we're going to cream together the butter and the sugar. Whew. And what I usually do with my sugar is, because it's the raw sugar, also known as Demerara sugar, it's a little bit thicker, or it's not as fine as white sugar. So I usually grind it up a bit in the food processor just to make it a little finer so it blends in better. And that's why there's the smoke from it, for lack of a better word, flying all over the place. Make sure you scrape it on the sides as well. And once it's creamed, we're going to add in the eggs, one egg at a time. And when the first egg is pretty much incorporated, we're going to add the second egg in there. And then the vanilla extract. I'm going to remove it from the mixer, and I'm going to hand fold in, or hand mix in, the flour, baking powder, baking soda mixture, just a little bit at a time. So here we have our workout for the day, mixing in the flour, and once it's mixed, remember that chocolate mixture we have? We're now going to add this into the flour, or the batter mixture. And we're going to mix this till it's very well incorporated. So now, don't rush to get this done. You really want to take your time and make sure it's mixed really, really well, or else you're going to have some light color pieces in your cake if the chocolate's not mixed into the rest of the batter. And this is pretty much what it will look like, this nice chocolatey thick batter. The next step, as I said, this is a lot of steps to making this cake. What we're going to do next is we're going to, with a whisk, we want to hand whisk the egg whites until we have soft peaks. So if you didn't get your workout for today in yet, this was a good start to it. And you could use a mix master if you really want to. I'm just going to do it by hand, it's quicker. so there I have my soft peaks. It's fluffy when I take the whisk out. The peaks form, but they're very soft. They're not stiff peaks. And now I'm going to fold this into the chocolate mixture. And you want to be real careful. You don't want to deflate it. So you don't want to mix it. You want to fold it in. And the process of folding is to scrape around the side, cut in through the center, and then over again. And you want to do this around, all around the bowl. Okay, so after it is completely folded in, now we're going to divide up the batter between the two cake pans. And then I'm going to bake these in the oven at 375 for about 35 to 45 minutes until a toothpick inserted into them comes out clean. You'll notice the sides will also start to pull away from, the cake will pull away from the sides, and the top, when you push it in, pushing the top will bounce right back. So while the cakes are baking, we're going to make the filling. And the filling really is very, it's so good you can eat it without the cake. You can just eat it with a spoon out of the container. What we need to make the filling is sugar, vanilla extract, cornstarch, which I will be mixing down with a little bit of water, unsweetened Dutch processed cocoa, bittersweet chocolate, salt, and some unsalted butter. I'm going to start by adding 1 tablespoon of cold water to the cornstarch, and then I'm just going to dissolve it in that to form a paste. And while I'm doing that, I have in the pot here 2 cups of boiling water, or it's water that's coming to a boil. Okay, so I turned the pot down onto low, and I'm going to add the cocoa into this and let this dissolve. And to this, I'm going to add the cornstarch mixture. And then we're going to bring this to a boil for about 1 minute. And for those that don't know, it's the cornstarch that's going to make this a thick pudding-like consistency. And before it gets to the boil, I am going to add the sugar into this. And I'm also going to add in the chocolate. And after a minute, we're going to remove it from the heat, add in the butter, the salt, and then the vanilla extract, and just mix it till it's melted, and then I'm going to let it cool. And as this cools, it's really going to thicken. It's going to thicken to a pudding consistency. We're now down to the final third recipe to make this cake. And if you stuck with it so far, you're almost there. We just have to make the frosting, then we're going to assemble the cake, and then you can enjoy it. So to make the frosting, you're going to need semi-sweet chocolate, and this is a lot of chocolate. This is 12 ounces of semi-sweet chocolate, vanilla extract, unsalted butter, 1/2 cup of hot water, and the traditional recipe from Ebinger's uses corn syrup. I don't use corn syrup in my home. I use tapioca syrup instead, and I will save that for another video. In a double boiler over medium to low heat, we're going to add in the chocolate and we're going to melt that. We're going to mix it, keep mixing it so that it'll melt a little bit more even. Okay, once the chocolate's nice and smooth, we're going to add in the butter to melt that in, keeping the temperature on around closer to low. Just going to add it a little bit at a time to melt this. Okay, now once the butter's all melted, I'm going to remove it from the heat. And then I'm going to whisk in the hot water. Add in the vanilla extract. And then the last thing I'm going to add in is the tapioca syrup, or if you're going to follow the recipe, you can use corn syrup instead. And I will have a link at my website in the description box of how to buy tapioca syrup, where to get it from if you would like to try it yourself. It really is a much healthier alternative to corn syrup. So this is whisked in. It's a little bit thin. I'm going to let it sit out for about 15 minutes. I may even put it in the refrigerator and let it thicken, and then this will be the frosting that covers the cake. And in the next step, we're going to decorate the cake, so stay tuned. I'm getting ready to put the cake together, and what I did was I refrigerated both cakes that I baked. Makes it a little bit easier to cut, and I have here a cake board that I'm going to put the cake on top of. You can buy these 8-inch, 10-inch, 12-inch. I didn't have one on hand, so I cut a piece of cardboard, covered it with plastic wrap, and I'm going to use this instead. So if you don't have one on hand, you can make your own. It just takes a little bit of an extra time to do that. So I want to unwrap these cakes, and we're only going to use 3 layers for this cake, and I'm going to show you why in a moment. So to cut the cake, you're going to need a bread knife or a serrated knife. You'll notice it has little grooves in this knife, and I'm going to hold it flat against the cake, about center, of course. Go in, and as I'm a little bit in, I'm going to turn it around and go in again. Keep turning it around until I have the cake. Make sure you keep the cake flat, or keep the knife flat rather, so that the cake will come out even. And there I have 2 cakes here. I'm going to switch this off and put the next cake on top. And then again, just going to turn it around. Makes it real easy. I've seen the contraptions that Wilton sells, these cake cutters, and honestly this is just so much easier to do than that. And again, I have 2 more layers of cake, and I'm going to fill them in the next segment. So on my cake board, I'm going to put the first layer of cake, and I usually use the top layer. That's it's kind of rounded a bit, and I'm going to put that on here. And then the filling that we made earlier, it should be of a gloppy, well, gloppy due to a lack of a better word, but it should be of a thick pudding-like consistency. And I'm going to take about half of that, and we're going to fill the cake with this. So just put that in there and just fill it around. I don't really like a whole lot of fillings in my cake. I'm one of the unusual people out there that actually prefers the cake more so than the frostings and the fillings. I actually like the cake. To me, sometimes the frostings can be kind of sweet. I'm going to fill it to reach the ends a little bit, but you don't want to put too much on or else it's going to run down the sides. And as I said, I don't really particularly care for a lot of filling, but because we're going to have another layer and another layer of filling, you really don't want it overpowering. I'm going to take the second layer, put that on top, and then again, put more filling. And spread that around. Okay. And then we're going to take another layer and put that on top. Now with this third layer here that I have, we're going to put this in the food processor and grind it up to a crumb. And that's because we're going to decorate the cake with this. And it's not even a secret, but it's a really good idea if you're ever doing cake decorating and you should have some extra cake, such as in this case, or if you're doing fancier cake decorating where you're going to sculpt and you have the crumb that you're taking off, always save it. So a lot of people will use it for cake pops. You can also use it for decorating around the cake, and I'm going to show you how in the next segment. After I ground up the cake, I put it into a sheet pan. Remember the frosting that we made? I have that here. And I'm just going to quickly frost the cake. It doesn't have to be really perfect because we are going to cover it with the crumb. So just going to dump it on here heavy. So as you can see, you don't have to ice the cake real fancy. We're just going to cover it with the crumbs anyway. So here I have the tray, and just going to make sure we get it the whole area. And we're also going to cover the top. And there you have the cake. So as I finish cleaning up the crumbs, this is a very messy process in making this cake. I'm going to cut the cake and I'm going to try it. So guys, this is my Ebinger's blackout cake, or Brooklyn blackout cake, or New York blackout cake, whatever you want to call it. And at the risk of getting chocolate all over my face and putting on the extra pounds or consuming the extra calories I just burned off at the gym, I am certainly going to taste this. It's really good. Has a lot of chocolate in it. Takes a lot of time to make. The one thing you do want to keep in mind is make sure you keep this refrigerated, because the filling will soften and the cake may go topsy-turvy on you. And also, this is the type of cake that you want to make it maybe right before serving, a day, but it doesn't really have a very long shelf life. It will get soggy within a few days. So keep that in mind. Also, don't forget to go to cinnamonsweetshop.com, where you'll get the recipe for this and many other cookies, cakes, brownies, candy, tutorials, cake decorating, cookie decorating tips, all there. See you next time.